round of Metro Beer Board virtual meeting. Welcome. I'm going to begin by calling order so that we can verify a quorum for today's meeting. I'm here. Ms. Jarman, are you in attendance?
I'm here.
Thank you. Mr. Bellamy, Mr. Conway.
I'm here.
Mr. Perlin.
Here.
Ms. Spalding. Ms. Fox.
Here.
Thank you. I have...
This Bailey Spalding. I'm not sure if you could hear me or if I was on.
I did not. Thank you, Bailey. We have, including myself, we have 6 in attendance today. Therefore, we do have a quorum to conduct business today. Next, I'll turn it over to our legal counsel, Mr. Justin Marsh, to give us some commentary as we, again, are meeting virtually and to explain why we can do this today. Mr. Marsh.
Yes, Mr. Chair. We've been through this a couple times before, but pursuant to Governor's Executive Order 16, as continued in its current iteration as Governor's Executive Order 55, boards and commissions are allowed to meet in a electronic forum, so long as it is essential business of the board. I would ask for a motion today just to that the business before the board today is essential, that the board chooses to hold this meeting in an electronic format, and that all board rules or bylaws that would be contrary to this be waived.
Very good. To the board members, you heard Mr. Marsh's explanation as to today's meeting regarding the necessity of meeting via teleconference, or in today's case, via WebEx. I'll entertain a motion to approve this measure.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Conway, second by Mr. Perlin. Was it you?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Any additional discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying yay when I call your name. Anyone opposed, please say nay. Ms. Jarman.
Yay.
Mr. Conway.
Yay.
Mr. Perlin.
Yay.
Ms. Spalding.
Yay.
Fox.
Yay.
I have 4 yays. Anyone I did not call? The only one would be Mr. Bellamy if he has not joined us. 4 yays, no nays. Motion passes. Thank you all. Thank you, Mr. Marsh. Next on the agenda is approval of the minutes from the previous meeting. I'll entertain a motion to approve and a subsequent second.
So move.
Thank you.
Second.
Ms. Fox, was that you?
Yes.
Thank you. I have a motion and a second. Any discussion, edits, amendments? Hearing none. As I call your name, please vote approval yay, opposition nay to approval of the minutes. Ms. Jarman.
Yay.
Mr. Bellamy, are you with us yet? Mr. Conway.
Yay.
Mr. Perlin.
Yay.
Ms. Spalding.
Yay.
Ms. Fox.
Yay.
4 yays, no nays. Motion to approve minutes passed. Thank you. Next on the agenda, I'm going to read a memo regarding appeals. If you're not satisfied with the decision of the Metropolitan Beer Permit Board regarding your application or your hearing, you may appeal the decision to the Davidson County Chancery or Circuit Court pursuant to the requirements set forth in TCA 57-5-108. The decisions of the Metro Beer Permit Board take effect on a date to be determined by the board. However, you may file an appeal within 60 days of the date of entry of the board's decision. We advise that you seek your own independent legal advice to ensure that your appeal is filed in a timely manner and that all procedural requirements have been met. The following applications appear to be in order to be granted based on staff recommendations. Number 8, Nash Smokes and Brews. Nash Smokes and Brews Number 9, Esther's Diner and Grill, Inc., Esther's Diner and Grill. Number 3, McDougal's 12th Coop, Inc., McDougal's Chicken Fingers and Wings. Number 4, RSC Hillsborough Village, LLC, Ruby Sunshine. And number 5, Family Dollar Stores of Tennessee, Inc., Family Dollar Store number 25657. Staff recommendation is to grant those permits. I'll entertain a motion and a subsequent second.
So moved.
Ms. Kia.
I have a motion and I have a second. Thank you. Any discussion? For those in favor, please signify by saying yay when I call your name. In opposition, please say nay. Ms. Jarman.
Yay.
Mr. Conway.
Yay.
Mr. Perlin.
Yay.
Ms. Spalding.
Yay.
Ms. Fox.
Yay.
Very well, thank you. 5 yeas, no nays. I may have miscounted on some of the earlier motions. We had 5 yeas, no nays as well. But 5 yeas, no nays for granting of those permits. If you are on the call, just know that staff is most likely able to deliver those permits to you via email. If you have any questions, please call the office tomorrow morning past 7:30. The following applications, based on staff recommendations, will be deferred indefinitely. This means it puts the onus back on the applicant to request to be put back on the agenda. But do know that in the event you submit all your documents, staff does have the authority to grant a temporary permit. Number 6, Bordeaux Grab and Go Little Barn Market. Number 7, Legion's House of Seafood, Nashville. It says Legion's, but it may be Legans, House of Seafood, Nashville. 10, Logan's Roadhouse 2 LLC, Logan's Roadhouse, Nashville, Opryland, number 520. 11, HH Heritage Inn of Nashville, LLC, Hyatt House, Nashville Airport. 12, Tooth and Nail Cigars and Ale, LLC, Tooth and Nail Cigars and Ale. 13, Logan's Roadhouse, number 2 LLC, Logan's Roadhouse, number 489. 14, Rock Bottom Group, LLC, Rock Bottom Restaurant and Brewery, Nashville, number 4202. Number 15, Jane's Entertainment Group, LLC, Jane's Hideaway. 16, Rock Bottom Group, LLC, Rock Bottom Restaurant and Brewery, Nashville, number 4202. That's a manufacturer permit. Number 17, Rock Bottom Group, LLC, Rock Bottom Restaurant and Brewery, number Nashville, number 4202. That's a wholesale permit or a wholesale application. Number 18, Two Black Knights, LLC, Winners Bar and Grill. 19, Loveless Cafe, Loveless Cafe. Again, staff recommendation is for indefinite deferrals. For those I just read, I'll entertain a motion for an indefinite deferral of those.
So moved.
I'll second.
I have a motion by Mr. Jarman, a second by Mr. Conway. Any discussion? All those in favor, when I call your name, signify by saying yay. Any opposed, please say nay. Ms. Jarman.
Yay.
Mr. Conway.
Yay.
Mr. Perlin.
Yay.
Ms. Spalding.
Yay.
Ms. Fox.
Yay.
I have 5 yays. Any no nays? Anyone wishing to change your vote? Hearing none, motion passes. Those will be indefinitely deferred. And again, you may request it back on the agenda at the appropriate time. Moving forward, we do have trials this afternoon. And at this point, Benton, and maybe this is a question to Charda. regarding the permit holder and the interaction for the trials this afternoon. Have you confirmed, or have we confirmed who will be speaking on behalf of the permit holders, Benton?
Yes, let me pull it up here just a moment.
Sure. When while you're doing that, the trials are Hunter's Hometown Foods, which is number 20, number 21, Nico Restaurant and Bar, 22, Angelo's Picnic, and number 23 and number 24 have requested a continuance to the September meeting, and maybe we could go ahead and address those. My first question would be to staff on number 23 and 24. Is there any issues or any concerns with staff regarding the continuance of number 23, Kid Rock's Big Ass Honky Tonk, and number 24, Broadway Brew House and Mojo Grill? Is there any staff issues with continuing those to the September meeting?
I am not aware of any, but if any member of the staff would like to provide any input, I'm happy with that as well.
All right, hearing none. Again, we're jumping forward just a little bit. Again, number 23 and 24, Kid Rock's Big Ass Honky Tonk and Broadway Brew House and Mojo Grill have requested a continuance to until the September meeting. If there are any comments from the board, now is the time to ask. Otherwise, I'll entertain a motion to continue those or defer those until our September night meeting.
Mr. Chair, based on legal recommendation, I'll be recusing myself from the conversation regarding the two that you just mentioned.
Okay, very well. Thank you, Ms. Jarman. Considering that, I need a motion and ideally a second to continue those two to our September meeting.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any additional discussion? Those in favor, when I call your name, yay. Any opposed, please say nay. Ms. Jarman has recused herself. Mr. Conway.
Yay.
Mr. Perlin.
Yay.
Ms. Spalding.
Yay.
Ms. Fox. Ms. Fox. I see that you're muted.
Yay.
Thank you.
Can you hear me?
4
Good.
yays. I can now. Yes, ma'am. Thank you. 4 yays for those two deferrals. No nays. Motion passes. We'll expect to see those on our September agenda. Moving back to the other trials, Ben, I apologize for jumping ahead of you a moment ago. I thought it'd be easy to get those out of the way. For number 20, 21, and 22 on the agenda, are we okay? Are we good with the necessary folks that will be speaking on behalf of those permit holders?
I believe, I know we have at least a representative for Nico Restaurant on here.
Okay, which is
and
number 21.
If we're able to, if Sade is able to do it, if we can unmute everyone that's there in the attendee list, so we can find out if they're on here or not, because I only got the phone number from Nico and did not get a phone number from the two other locations. If she's able to do that.
Well, let's do this, and if someone is here, if you are in on a computer, a laptop, PC of any kind, versus calling in, you can raise your hand and we'll try to take a look. Is there anyone on the call for Hunter's Hometown Foods? Is there any way, Benton, is there a way, or Sade, is there any way way to figure out otherwise.
I will unmute all of the call-in users momentarily just to see if we have someone.
Great, thank you.
Denton, do you have the first 6 numbers in the of the phone number? Area code and then the first 3.
For Nico Restaurant, I do, and that one is 615-568. I believe I saw that one on there.
I've unmuted the 615-568.
So I know we're moving ahead a little bit. Is that whoever that may be, can you speak up and identify yourself?
Uche Falodun, Nicole Restaurant on Bar.
Okay. Ma'am, could you give us your name?
My name is Uche Falodun.
Okay.
Yes,
Ms.
sir.
Falodun. Okay, got it.
Yes, sir.
Then hang tight until we'll come right back to you. Thank you.
Thank you,
Is there
sir.
anyone on the, is there any, or Benton, do you have the ability or have any information for Angelo's Picnic, Nicola La Matina or Deborah Guevara? Hey, Benton, I think you're muted, buddy.
My apologies. For both of those, we would have to unmute them, and I think she's doing that right now, and to see who's on here on their behalf. I think she just unmuted all of them. If we can get their name and number, and that way she can mute everyone else.
Sure. So what just happened, if you're calling in, the host at Metro just unmuted all of the call-in users. Is there anyone out there who's representing Hunter's Hometown Foods?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Could you identify your name, and you're calling in versus WebExing in?
Yes.
So who are we speaking with?
This is Todd Hunter and Ed Campbell with Hunter Foods.
Okay. Then tell you, let's do this so that Sade knows, so that we can make sure we're speaking directly to you and giving the opportunity. Can you give us the number you're calling, just the first 6 digits that you're calling from? If it's a 615 or what have you, just the first 6.
It's 615-571.
Okay. Sade, can you find that one?
Yes, I have it located.
Okay. Then if we can mark that one. And now Angelo's Picnic. Is there someone on that has called in regarding Angelo's Picnic?
Yes, Mr. Lamatina, you can hear me?
Yes.
I have Miss Deborah here with me as well.
Very good. Okay, can you give us the first 6 digits of the number you're calling from so we know to unmute you momentarily in just a moment?
Yes, sir. It's 615-57.
615, what were the next 3?
573.
615-573, and you are Angelo's Picnic, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, Sade, if you would mute everyone back, and then we will start with Mr. Hunter and Mr. Campbell with Hunter's Hometown Foods. And that is 615-571, the first 3 digits of that. And let me know when you're ready.
And Mr. Chairman, if I might, we probably just need to remind everyone to state their name and speak slowly to enable the court reporter to keep up.
Yes. Okay, so Mr. Hunter and Mr. Campbell, are you there?
Yes, yes.
Okay, thank you. We now want to swear you in because we are in trial mode. So we would ask that, again, it's a virtual, so we're going to ask that you raise your right hand so you can be sworn in, and everyone who will attest as needed, if you would, at the appropriate time, just say your name and say, I will, I do, whatever you're comfortable with. Susan. I need you to unmute. Sade, can you unmute Susan's line?
Is that there?
Yeah, there you go.
Okay, all righty. Okay, if you will raise your right hand, I will give you the oath. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give in this cause will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do. I do.
Okay, please state your name before you speak each time, because sometimes I can't see the people who have called in. I can't see their faces, so you need to identify every time.
Okay. Todd Hunter.
Okay.
Edward Campbell. Edward Campbell.
Okay.
And then for the inspectors, go ahead.
Inspector James.
Inspector James, are there any other inspectors that will be speaking outside of yourself?
I don't believe Melvin has made it on yet, has he?
I don't see his name. Are you prepared to speak on behalf of the board? Mr. James?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Then let's open up with your comments, if you will.
All right. This is Inspector James. All right. So we were doing a beer buy compliance check. This was back on November 16th, 2019. Sent in 2 minors. I'm sorry, no, this was 1 minor that was under the age of 18. The minor was 17 years old. Went in, purchased a pack of Marlboro cigarettes. The clerk did sell to the minor. He asked for that. He did check the ID, but still made the sale. This was after the federal had changed the law to where you had to be 21 to purchase cigarettes or any tobacco products. So that's why we were out doing this. We went inside, gave the cigarettes back, returned the money, and got the beer bottle money back. And that's pretty much all I have. Okay,
thank you. So we haven't done trials in a while, so I skipped a step real quick. Let me go back to that. Mr. Campbell or Mr. Hunter, before we allow you to make your comments, I should have inquired first or right away. Do you plead, in this case, do you plead guilty or not guilty to the charges?
We plead guilty.
Is that Mr. Hunter?
With guilty.
Okay, so which one of you are? Let's have one of you speak, and if you would just tell us who just said that.
Okay.
We'll apologize for the challenges.
That's okay. This is Todd Hunter. We plead guilty with explanation.
Okay. then Mr. Hunter, we'll hear from you as to the explanation. You're free to begin.
Yep. Well, Mr. Ed Campbell, he is a senior member, very trusted member of our staff here, and he did sell to this young man. Now, Ed at the time was having some eye issues, and he has since had eye surgery to correct that, and he did type in the wrong birthday on this young man, and this did get by him. We sincerely apologize for this. Like I said, he is a very trusted member and of our staff, and normally has been very diligent on checking IDs always, but this one did get past us.
Okay. Are those the end of your comments for this time?
Yes.
All right. Thank you. I'll open it up to members of the board for any questions of Inspector James or Mr. Hunter or Mr. Campbell, who are the permit holders.
I've got a question for Mr. Campbell. It sounded like he said that he typed in something. Did he type in some verification of birthday and he mistyped, or can you explain that a little bit further?
Yeah, I typed it in, but I missed one of the numbers on the birthday. Typed in the wrong number.
So what do you type it into?
Into the register.
And I guess then I would just follow up with the inspector. Did you see him type something into the register as if he was checking, verifying the age?
I don't think Melvin can speak. During these beer buys, myself and Inspector Hardrick, we stay out in the cars until the deal is done. So I wouldn't have witnessed that. And I don't have a year on there, but I don't have that. But yeah, I did not witness what took place inside.
Gotcha. I mean, they pled guilty, so that's not the issue. I was just wondering if they just had a mishap with verification or not.
Sure. Any other questions from the board? I have one question for staff, and Mr. McDonough or Mr. James can respond regarding, and we haven't gotten to that point yet, but I'm just curious to get a better understanding. Again, we haven't had trial, so forgive me. It's been a minute. I just don't recall. Is this a first time offense for? Is the staff recommendation that's on our agenda is that for the 30-day suspension? Is that standard for a first time offense for a tobacco sale?
This is Benton McDonough. I will say that we're still pretty new as far as the process goes with cigarette buys, because we've included those in our beer buys just in the last year, and so we have 750 down on there, but I don't have the chart in front of me that shows what we typically have. But I think because it's deemed a criminal act, I think that's why we started at 750 for that.
And I'm really more asking about the 30-day suspension, 30-day suspension, 60-day probation.
I think we usually do 7 days, 7 day suspension, and then 14 is it 14 days on probation at that point? I think that's typically what we assess for a first time offense.
Okay. Well, that answers my question. I mean, it says 30-day/60-day on our recommendation, just as an aside, if we're in debate, that the 30-day seems a little excessive in the event they chose the suspension period versus the civil penalty. Are there any other questions or comments from the board?
Mr. Chair, I have a question, probably for
Yes,
our director. I feel like we've had one situation like this that has come up before. And I think we had a conversation around at that time wanting to be careful that we were not just doing the cigarette piece to get more money for the city. But my question really is about has this happened once before, and what was what did we assess at that point? And I may be confusing, but I know we talked about cigarette buys before.
Yes, we have done this, I believe, multiple times before. And like you said, the intent is not to obtain more revenue for the city. We saw it as a partnership with the Metro Police Department that we were working alongside them. So as long as we were going out and purchasing beer at the same time, then we worked with them to also try to purchase cigarettes in those circumstances where we're able to do both.
Did we do $7.50 the other times? I'm just not recalling.
We went. I have been in contact with Mr. Darby, and he stated that that's based upon the chart that we have, the sliding scale that we have. I think the fact that it's deemed a criminal act is the reason that it's set at $7.50 for that.
Any additional questions for the inspector or Mr. Hunter or Mr. Campbell?
No, but I would just like to comment that I also think a 30-day suspension seems excessive for what it is in a first-time offense. And also that, selling to a minor is also a criminal offense too. I mean, I've defended those cases, not in Davidson County, but in outlying counties. But I'm actually fine with the $750 civil penalty, just maybe not that or 30-day suspension.
Okay, I have one quick question, maybe for the inspector, Mr. James, or Mr. Hardrick, whoever, or Mr. James, since you're the one speaking here. Mr. Hardrick, I don't believe you were sworn in on this one. Did we actually do a beer buy and the permit holder successfully deny that sale?
Yeah, this was a beer buy in conjunction with trying to purchase tobacco products. I misspoke earlier when I said something about the federal law changing. This one, we were using a 17-year-old, so he was under 18 anyway at that time. But yeah, he did not purchase beer. They didn't sell beer, but they did sell the cigarettes.
Okay.
Can I ask a question about that? So, because I want to hear really clearly, because I don't think I was hearing very clearly. So they did not, when they went to the counter to purchase beer, are we saying that Mr. Campbell denied that purchase, but allowed the cigarette purchase? I just want to make sure I'm really clear about what we're saying here.
I didn't put that in my report, so I don't want to say 100%. I would prefer if Melvin could speak, because I don't have the notes from that day, because that was back in November. I honestly don't remember if we were doing, if they were trying to purchase beer at that store as well. From what I recall, we were doing a beer buy and purchasing cigarettes, but like I said, I cannot be 100% sure on that.
And I just want to add to that that we actually the only time we do purchase cigarettes is if we're in there to attempt to buy beer. We don't go in there just specifically to purchase cigarettes. We go in there. It has to be primarily for the purchase of beer, and then if they're selling cigarettes there as well, then we'll attempt to do that as well. But we're there for the primary reason to purchase beer. And I think Melvin is online if we can unmute him. And his first three numbers of his number, it's 615-680.
Six one 680.
680. Mm-hmm.
Mr. Brown, are you with us?
I'm not seeing that number on here.
Okay, let me.
Okay. Well, so I want to keep this moving forward versus having
I do
to
have a
figure
couple
this
more
out.
questions. I do have a couple more questions. So
Sure.
I do have a question about the November date, November 2019 date. Why has it taken us so long to get that before us? And I'm asking because I'm trying to understand.
What we typically try to do is to have the hearings on the next month. And I was looking at that today. I think there may have been some scheduling issues on that because it did happen in November. So it would have been heard in December. And then I think either we initially scheduled it for either January or February. And then I think with everything between those dates and now, I think there was a need to reschedule it. And then obviously we haven't had any hearings since probably February or January, I believe.
Okay, got it. I appreciate that, and I know we're in a pandemic. I just always know that our licensees or our permittees rather want to, have something a little bit quicker. So, and then my next question is, I'm still stuck on if the beer purchase. So, do we think we're going to see something at some point about a beer purchase, or did it just come down to they purchased cigarettes? I'm trying to just make sure that we keep the standard of what we say we're going to do, which is go in and purchase beer and so happen to do cigarettes versus going to just purchase cigarettes.
Right. And I think in this particular case, based upon what I've seen, it looks like maybe they didn't sell the beer, but they did sell the cigarettes. But we are there working with the police department. And I can't say, this was back in November, so I can't say for sure if they were with us, but that is something that we have been working in concert with them to provide that service if we happen to be in a place that sells both beer and alcohol. But I will also say that with our funding with the Boys and Girls Club here in Nashville, that they provide part of our funding for some of these stings, and if we were going in there for the sole purpose of purchasing cigarettes, then that would run into an issue with that funding. So because of that, we make sure that we specifically are there primarily for the purpose of trying to purchase beer, and then cigarettes just happen to be secondary.
I got it. I trust, our process. I trust our inspectors as I really do. I think if we can make sure that in our notes, just in the event that this or something other crazy takes us a while, that we have in there, they did not just
Right.
beer, just so we can tighten up that process. I appreciate that we're creating a process, so I think we can just tighten that up a little bit to make sure that we, do the best. So I appreciate the answers. Thank you.
Definitely appreciate the question.
Hey, this
Very
is
good.
Inspector James.
Mr. James, did you need to say something? I'm sorry.
Yes, sir. So I went back through my emails. After every beer buy, Melvin sends out an email of what occurred that day. So I got the email it was Saturday, November 16th, 2019. The email was sent to NPP, Nashville Prevention Partnership. And it does state in the email that we use an under 18 CI for beer purchases and tobacco purchases in conjunction with each other. So that location, and now I do remember, he tried to purchase beer, and the gentleman didn't sell him the beer, but he did sell him the cigarettes.
All right, very good. Thanks for that clarification, Inspector. Are there any other comments or questions from the board to either the permit holder or to Inspector James? Hearing none, the permit holder has pled guilty, so there's no need to sustain the citation. At this point, I'll ask for a motion for penalty.
So I move that we do $750 civil penalty, or, and help me, I don't have it in front of me. Hold on. 7-day suspension and 14. Is it 14/7? Sorry, 14.
You had it right. You had it right. Generally,
okay.
Typically it's 7/14.
Okay. So yeah. So thank you. So $750 civil penalty or 7/14. I appreciate that.
Okay. So do I have a second?
I'll second.
So I have a motion on the table for a $750 civil penalty, or should the permit holder wish to choose, instead of paying the civil penalty, they can serve a 7-day probation. A 7-day suspension followed up by a 14-day probation. It is their choice. Any discussion on that motion from the board? Hearing none, when I call your name, please signify your approval by saying yay, your opposition by saying nay. Ms. Jarman.
Hey.
Ms. Jarman, was that a yay?
Yay, Y-A-Y.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Okay. Thank you. It just cut out a second. Mr. Conway.
Yeah.
Mr. Perlin.
Yay.
Ms. Spalding.
Yay.
Ms. Fox. Ms. Fox.
Yay.
Thank you. 5 yays, no nays. I'm sorry, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, 5. 5 yays, no nays. Motion passes. So, Mr. Hunter and Mr. Campbell, just so that you understand what the board just did, we issued a citation or issued a fine in the amount of $750. In lieu of paying that $750, you can choose to serve a 7-day suspension followed by a 14-day probation. The 7-day suspension would include you submitting your permit to the beer board, and the inspectors would work with you on the actions you need to take just to secure your beer during that time. Someone from the board will be in touch with you in the morning and talk with you, or talk with you through that process.
Now, I have a question.
Is it regarding the fine or just the process?
Well, just when you say submit the permit, is that my out because it was cigarettes that was sold. Can I not sell cigarettes for 7 days, or are you taking our beer permit for 7 days?
So that's a valid question. Our authority is just for beer. The fact that you have a beer permit is what gives us authority over the sale of the cigarettes to a minor. So in this case, to answer your question, it is just your beer permit.
Okay.
Right?
I understand. I understand my options there now. Just the beer.
All right. On that note, we appreciate you guys taking part in this somewhat clunky process, but thank you for being here. Again, the staff will be in contact with you. Benton, would you say tomorrow, just to go forward? I'm putting you on the spot, Ben, so.
Yes. Sorry.
Okay.
And
Mr. Hunter, Mr. Campbell, someone from the beer board staff will be in contact with you tomorrow.
Okay.
All right. Thank you for your time this afternoon.
Thank you to the board.
All right. So to the board and to everyone listening, I appreciate kind of everyone working and kind of listening to the process. It is kind of, as I said, clunky as we do this in a virtual format. We'll get used to it. Hopefully it'll go smoother as we remain in this virtual format. So next is number 21, Nico Restaurant and Bar. Is Miss Falutin still with us today? Sade, you probably will have to unmute Miss Falutin. And Benton, you gave her those first 6 digits earlier.
Yes.
For Nico?
That is 615568.
Say it again, Benton.
She's unmuted.
615568. Okay, yeah, there she is.
Miss Falutin, are you there?
Yes, sir, I'm here.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
So let me ask you regarding the allegations of a sale to a minor. Do you plead guilty or not guilty today?
I'm guilty, sir.
So I can confirm it. Your plea is guilty, correct?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. On that matter, if Mr. James, Mr. Hardrick, will you be speaking on this matter?
No, sir. It'll just be Mr. James on this.
All right. Susan, if you will swear, Mr. James, you're already sworn in from earlier. Ms. Falutin, I'm going to have Ms. Susan Murillo swear you in, as we'll ask for some commentary if you want to give it in just a moment.
Yes, sir.
Okay, will you raise your right hand, please?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give in this cause will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Thank you, Susan. Mr. James, you want to give us the specifics on this particular matter?
Yeah, this is Inspector James. So this was back in the same time frame, November 19th, 2019. We visited the location we had 2 minors. Both were 18 years old. They went into the location together with Melvin Brown. The minors both purchased 12-ounce bottles of Bud Light, and the location did serve those beers to the minors. After that, we came in, myself and Inspector Hardrick was with me that day. We came in, relieved the miners, and went ahead and wrote the report there. There was no money exchanged. They just had the beers were served to them.
Okay. Does that conclude your comments?
Yes, sir. Unless you guys have any questions.
Okay. Ms. Faludin, you pled guilty. You heard Mr. James' comments. Is there anything you wish to add or tell us about?
Yes, sir. I did gave them the beer, but I checked their ID. Maybe I didn't see clearly to see that the date is not up to that they are minor. I was shocked when I went inside. They called me that people are here. So when I came out, I saw that it's the beer board, which I apologize that I didn't know. I didn't know what happened, that I didn't look at the ID really good. But I checked their ID. Maybe I didn't see it clearly. I'm so sorry, sir.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. Does that conclude your comments at this moment?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. At this point, is there anyone from the board with any questions of Inspector James or Ms. Faludin?
Mr. Chair, it's been a while, as you mentioned. I see the $2,000 staff recommendation civil penalty. Is that based on one sale or two? And I apologize if that was mentioned. I just want to be clear on the details.
Thank you for the question. Good question.
This is Benton McDonough. The $2,000 is based upon the $1,500 was for the initial sale, and then an additional $500. We've been doing that this year, adding $500 for an aggravating circumstance for the second sale.
And by second sale, you mean it happened at the same time?
It did, yes.
So there were two CIs on this transaction?
Right, and they both had valid IDs that they provided to the permit holder, and then the permit holder, as she stated, reviewed the IDs and still sold.
Okay. And excuse me, Ben, because you are not sworn in and you're giving testimony. Let me ask Inspector James to if nothing else, just validate what was just said. Sorry, Ben,
No.
you're testifying and sworn in.
I can do that moving forward.
Inspector James. To be honest, I'm not involved in the civil penalty part of it, but I do recall around that time frame that if we were charging them as separate offenses, but then that was too much, so we started doing that, the 1,500, and then 500 was added on if there were two sales. It is technically two sales, but you know, that way we're not charging them double.
Right. So
500.
So let me clarify. Just I was cutting Benton off because he's beginning to give facts and circumstances about the situation, which is really why I was looking to you. It's quite okay for Benton to respond to questions regarding the proposed citation and fine. I just wanted to make sure that you don't have any differences with the portion that Mr. McDonough was saying about the process, in that it was two guys or two individuals that bought or were sold beers at the same time.
Yes, sir. I don't disagree with that. There were two sales. It was at the same time. Both miners were sold beers. So.
Okay, thank you. And Ben, thank you for understanding. Okay, to the board, are there any other questions from the board of Inspector James or Ms. Faludin?
Have questions for us because we've talked about this a few times, and Inspector James, mentioned that we've had these conversations around, is it one receipt? Is it two receipts? Was it at the same time? Did they bring them? We've had those conversations. And I mean, one sale, it happens at one time. I mean, two sales happens at one time, still feels like one sale to me. So I want to make sure that whatever whatever we've done in the past is what we continue to do. So is it that we took the 1,500 if it was the first offense, and it was, even if it was two sales? I feel like that's what we've done in the past, but I'm not sure because I don't have my paperwork in front of me to look it up. Maybe our director can help with that answer, or chairman, whichever.
I'm happy to answer that. It's exactly how Mr. James, Inspector James, laid it out. That we had those discussions probably 1 to 2 years ago, where we were charging them twice, so it would have been like I think $3,000, and the board had decided that they were not comfortable with that, so we started charging it as a aggravating circumstance to it, that would increase it by 500 in that particular case, because they had two opportunities to check the ID in this case, and not that they failed to check it, but they apparently failed to check it adequately in this particular case. So that's why they sold to two minors.
And then I have a question. Thank you for that. I have
Thank
a
you.
question for the permit holder around have you taken any steps to ensure that this does not happen again? What's been your to make sure that you don't have this happen again?
Yes, ma'am. I'll be checking IDs. And the last time they came, I checked ID. I see the guy ID that he gave me, and called the police. When I called the police, then they came inside and told me they are from the state board, and they took the license from me after showing me the ID. So since then, I'll be checking. It's just I've never done this mistake before. I am very, very sorry.
Thank you for that. I'm wondering if we can, I feel like we've had these conversations so many times, and I can't recall where we've landed, but I do know for the permit holder, let me ask the question. Do we have a list of devices or technologies that we might be able to share with her if she does inspector office hours, so that she can have an adequate system in place to not put, to checks the ID, putting it in a system?
I will say that in recent stings, what we have discovered is that it seems like more locations are starting to use scanners, and I don't know, from our standpoint, we can offer them examples of items that they could use for that, or tools they can use. But I don't know that it would be appropriate for us to offer specific brands or anything like that. But we can at least give them some ideas or tools that they might be able to use. And we are starting back to providing training virtually. So we're looking at doing that pretty soon as well. So that would be another tool for them to use as well, is learning specifically how to deal with these issues from us through our training.
Okay, perfect. Examples is exactly the word I was looking for. Thank you for that. I appreciate it.
So to staff, or Mr. James or Benton, you can address this as well. Do we have a record of revisiting this location since November of 2019? And then I believe Ms. Falutin alluded to the fact that she had since been, I don't know what the appropriate word is, in a sting before, and it seems like, based on what I thought I heard, is that she passed. Do we have a record of revisiting this location and it being a I guess a successful non-sale?
I would have to check on that. I mean, we do go back and recheck them very soon afterwards, after we do the initial purchase. So it's quite possible that we did recheck her at the end of that month, and do that. So we'll, but I don't have that information in front of me.
Okay. Any other questions from the board? Yeah, Mr. James.
I was just going to say, I don't have that, a record of that in front of me either, but I do remember going back there because, as she stated, she called the police on. I think I don't know for sure, but I believe she recognized, because it was, we went back in there probably a month later or less. So we had to call up to Metro over the radio and let them know that it's the beer board there.
Nobody called me.
So you did go back and they did pass. They didn't sell. So.
Okay.
And we actually, Melvin just stated that we did a recheck on December the 12th.
A successful recheck? Successful,
it was
no sale?
Yes, it was successful for her. Yes.
Okay, good. Any other comments, questions from the board?
This is Fox. Yes, I've got a comment. So for all purposes, okay, so she was checked twice. She passed once, and didn't this time. She's pled guilty. So this would make it the initial, right? The first offense for her then. Is that correct?
This particular offense this is the first offense, and just from a historical standpoint, Ms. Fox, what Benton was saying is, when they inspect and find a violation, it's a matter of practice that they go back and revisit that same location to assess whether they have taken the previous citation seriously and or adjusted their practices. And in this case, it sounds to me from Mr. James and what the director has stated that they did revisit this after this offense, which appears to be their first offense. They revisited it and they passed on the second visit. They failed this time on November 19, but they were revisited subsequently in the following month. I think you said December of 19, and they passed.
Okay, I just wanted that clarified. Okay, thank you.
And I will just add that we have very, very few locations that do not pass on the subsequent recheck on there.
All right, good. Any additional questions from the board? Then we will move to penalty phase. Again, the permit holder pled guilty. At this point, I would open the floor for a motion on the penalty. Not all at one time. Again, I need a motion so we can move forward.
What was it? $2,000 penalty we were offering?
Who's speaking?
I'm sorry, Joe Perlin. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. Okay, got it.
Right, Mr. Perlin, the staff recommendation prior to discussion was a $2,000 civil penalty or a 14-day suspension and 90-day probation.
Make a motion for that.
All right, I have a motion for a $2,000 civil penalty or a 14-day suspension with a 90-day probation. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
And that was Mr. Conway?
Yes.
All right. At this point, we are open for discussion.
Mr. Taylor, have we always done 1490 on the 2000 civil penalty? I'm just double checking.
I think this is that odd phase where it goes back to your question earlier, Ms. Jarman, that, for a first offense is generally historically $1,500 with a 7-day and I think 30-day probation. Benton, I'll take a nod your head if I'm accurate.
I believe that's correct.
In this case, the staff is recommending a higher civil penalty because there were 2 at one time, and then a longer suspension and longer probation. But if it were a first offense, it would be, my recollection, again, it's been so long, but I'm correct, is a general first offense without the aggravating circumstances that Mr. McDonough alluded to or stated earlier would be $1,500, $1,430.
Okay. I appreciate that. I kind of want us to do something with that 1430 part, but.
And I just wanted to add that I believe Melvin is on. I see his number now listed. I believe it's. Let me see.
Okay.
If it's under user 18. If you guys had any questions for him, I think he's on there as.
At this point.
For the next one, maybe.
I mean, we are in a motion, so I don't want to really discuss outside our motion just again, or at this point. Any other discussion on the motion? So I have a motion and a second for a $2,000 civil penalty or the option of serving a 14-day suspension with a 90-day probation. When I call your name, if you're in favor of the motion, please say yay clearly. In opposition, please signify by saying nay. Ms. Jarman. Ms. Jarman? Is that a yay?
Yeah, yay, Y-A-Y, yes.
All right, thank you. Mr. Conway?
Yay.
Mr. Perlin?
Yay.
Ms. Spalding?
Yay.
Ms. Fox?
Yay.
I have 5 yays, no nays. Anyone wishing to change your vote? Hearing none, motion passes. Ms. Falutin, just so that you understand what the board just did, the board issued a civil penalty in the amount of $2,000. If you would prefer, you may serve the suspension period, which is a 14-day suspension followed by a 90-day probation. That is your choice. And just so that if you have any additional questions about that, the staff will be in contact with you likely tomorrow. In the event you choose either the money civil penalty or the time suspension penalty. That's up to you.
Okay, sir. Yes, sir.
All right. Thank you very much.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Please, can I ask questions, sir?
Is it about the serving of the penalty?
Yes, sir.
Okay, please.
Yes, sir. Please, sir. This is my first offense, and I promise it will not happen again. Please, can you reduce it for me, please?
Ma'am, I'm sorry. The board is already chosen and already made their decision. There's nothing that we can do at this point.
Okay,
but
sir.
Thank you. Staff will be in contact tomorrow.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Very good. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, next, Angelo's Picnic. Sade, the first 6 digits are 615573. If you could unmute Nicola Martina and Deborah Guevara. And if Martina or Guevara can respond so that I know you're there, that'd be great. Nicola Martina. Deborah Guevara, are you there?
Can you hear us? Can you you hear us?
Yes, who's speaking, please?
Nicole Lamartina, good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the.
Okay, I'm getting a lot of background noise.
Is this any better?
That is much better, thank you.
No problem.
So am I speaking to Nicola Martina?
Yeah, this is Mr. Lamartina. How are you doing?
Good, thank you. Let me first ask you in today's, the allegation of selling to a minor, do you plead guilty or not guilty this afternoon?
Nolo contendere.
Okay. And I would ask anyone, all those who will be speaking on today, that would include Nicola Martina, Deborah Guevara, which inspector will be speaking on this matter? And
It'll be Inspector
James,
Hardrick.
Mr. Hardrick, you'll be representing the beer board?
Yes, sir.
All right. Since you have not been sworn in, I'll ask Susan to take over momentarily to swear in Mr. Hardrick, and along with Martina and Guevara.
Okay, if you all raise your hands, please. Do you all solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give in this cause will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Nicola Lamartina, I do.
Deborah Guevara, I do.
All right, thank you. Mr. Hardwick, we'll let you speak first.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is Inspector Darrell Hardwick, representing the Metro Beer Board. This incident happened on December the 3rd, 2019, at location's address is 2513 Murfreesboro Pike. On that date, we were conducting a joint operation with the Nashville Prevention Department, where we did have two minors, decoys that we sent into the location. At that time, the minors attempted to order and purchase beer. The server on duty at the time did serve both minors. At that point, the minors were removed from the table and the inspectors came in. They were charged with selling to two minors. That's all I have.
All right, thank you, Mr. Hardwick. So, Nicola Martina, Deborah Guevara,
Yes, sir,
you both are sworn in. It is, we'll open the floor for you to give any comments you choose.
Yes, sir. The citation was assessed on December 3rd, 2019. They did come in and they did get a server that was brand new. It was either her first or second week on the job. I'd like to just let you guys know we've had 2 active beer permits on that property since 1999. This is actually our first offense ever. Since this incident happened, we went forward and we changed our handbooks. We put bolder print on our alcohol serving training. We also added a countdown clock, and we administrated that to the training with any new servers that we bring in to eliminate this problem from ever happening. And again, when the inspectors came, they did said if we asked for a hearing, we could request that we get a suspension. They came back in, I want to say about 2 weeks later, and attempted to see if we would sell beer to a minor again, which we did pass. Hopefully there's a record of that. And since then, we did not reorder beer, so I have not sold beer in over 8 months. So I'm humbly going to request that the board review that and maybe consider it time served on a suspension today. That's all I have to say for now, sir.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Martina.
Thank you.
But I have one quick question to that point.
Yes, sir.
So you say you haven't sold beer. Have you turned in your beer permit? Have you submitted it back to the beer board, or are you still holding it?
It's still on. I would like to sell beer. I can't afford to pay the fine, especially now with COVID. When that incident happened, I was kind of going through a rough time myself. And then, of course, COVID hit. So even now, it'd be even harder for me to pay the fine. And as far as suspension goes, I know you have to remove all the beer from the premises. The only thing we have beer-wise, we removed all our signs and we put them in our back stock room so they're not visible. And I have 4 empty kegs that are in the back stock room that we're waiting on Ajax. They said once we decide to order beer again, which we ordered by choice because I figured a suspension would be coming. They would pick those up and, of course, give me my deposits back. But if the board approves us today to get back to action, I'll order beer again. And like I said, I haven't served a drink this entire year. It was the end of December, maybe beginning of January. It was right after they came in for the second inspection that we passed.
Okay. Thank you very much.
And again, I'd like to thank you, sir. Thank you.
I apologize. I didn't mean to cut you off. Did you have any additional comments?
No, I was just going to reevaluate. Like I said, this was our second permit on the property. The first permit was in my father's name. We're an actual true family restaurant, and we've been there since '99. And again, I just want to reiterate to the board when they make their decision, humbly, this is our first offense ever. It was a brand new trainee. We do hand out the handbooks. We're very diligent and very strict on our training. That's why we've never had an offense in the past. It was just a mishap. Nobody's perfect. But we're going to diligently strive to make sure it doesn't happen again. That's all I like to add. Thank you.
Okay, very good. Thank you, sir. Is there anyone on the board with any questions for the inspector, Mr. Hardrick, or the permit holders, Mr. Matina and Deborah Guevara?
This is Bailey Spalding. I was just hoping for clarification on, so with suspension, he was saying he would have to remove all the beer from his establishment, and then it got a little fuzzy on my end as to whether there actually was beer there or if they were just empty kegs.
Sure. I'll let one of the inspectors or Benton address that. I believe our process has changed over the last few years regarding suspensions. In the event they can securely lock the beer up without it coming into public contact. Mr. Hardrick, can you address that?
Yes, sir. This is Inspector Hardrick. You're absolutely correct. Our new procedure is now that we lock the beer up on site. And we hold the keys to the locks until the suspension has been served.
Okay, good, thank you. Ms. Spalding, does that answer your question? And it may be some clarification too for Mr. Matina that historically, yes, some years past, going back, that you would have to move the beer from the premise. We realized that today's time it's very cumbersome for that action to take place, not only for the permit holder, but for the inspectors to ensure that it's not there, as well as the distributors to come and get it. So we changed that process, as Mr. Hardrick said, that they will come and verify that it's securely locked, but remains on the premises. So does that help, Ms. Spalding?
Yeah, yes, that does help me. Thank you very much.
Great, thank you. Mr. Matina, did you have a comment?
Yes, sir. I was just going to add, we haven't had beer on the location the entire year except for 4 empty kegs.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Any other questions from the board?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
This is Inspector Hardrick. Just to advise the board for future references, we do provide the applicant with a detailed handout of our procedure where we actually conduct the suspension and the lockup. So.
Very good. Thank you. Any other questions from the board?
Mr. Taylor, this is Justin Marsh from Metro Department of Law.
Yes, sir.
I'll step in. The permit holder pled nolo contendere, which we don't exactly have a process for. I would still advise the board to determine whether the permit holder is guilty of the offense before the sentencing period.
Sure. Okay, very good. Thank you for that clarification. You're correct. That's not a plea that we get very often whatsoever.
Sorry,
any other
guys.
questions? It's okay. Any other questions from the board? Hearing none. As you just heard Mr. Marsh's comments, although the plea was no longer contendere, I'll entertain a motion for either dismissal or to validate the citation.
I'll move to sustain the citation.
I have a motion to sustain. Do I have a second?
Mr. Chair, I got knocked off. Would you mind repeating what the motion was? Sorry about that.
So the first motion was to sustain the citation.
So I second.
Thank you. Any additional discussion? All in favor, please signify by saying yay when I call your name. Opposed, please signify by nay. Ms. Jarman.
Yay.
Mr. Conway.
Yay.
Mr. Perlin.
I believe we lost him.
Ms. Spalding.
Yay.
Ms. Fox.
Yay.
Thank you. Mr. Perlin, did we lose you or are you here? It seems that Mr. Perlin is no longer with us, but we do still have a quorum. I have 4 yays, no nays. Anyone wishing to change a vote? Hearing none, motion passes. Citation is sustained. Next will be penalty phase. I'll entertain a motion for penalty.
I move that we go with the staff recommendation. I believe that's $2,000 civil penalty or $1,490.
All right, I have a motion for $2,000 civil penalty or a 14-day suspension followed by a 90-day probation.
And for continuity, I'll second that motion. I wish they would have turned in that permit though, because I would have considered it. I'll second the motion for sure.
All right, so I have a motion and I have a second. Any additional discussion?
Mr. Conway, what were you saying? I wanted to hear it, but it kind of broke up. What were you saying about the permit?
They said that they haven't sold beer in a year, and then they were asked if they surrendered the permit, but they never surrendered the permit. And I was just saying that I would have considered that had they surrendered the permit prior to the hearing, but they didn't do that. So, I'm not going to consider it.
Gotcha. Perfect. Thank you.
I would add to that, had they surrendered the permit, that could have very well been construed as turning in their permit. Had the beer board office held that for any period of time, that could have been considered complete withdrawal of their permit privileges. So if they ever decided to sell beer again, they would have to go through the application process. Is that correct, Mr. McDonough? I just want to just clarify it a little bit just for the board's edification. Had they submitted it voluntarily without cause or without reason, just submitted it, then it would have, in essence, invalidated that permit going forward, correct?
I believe so. I believe had they told us that that they wanted us to hold it, then I think we would have been fine with that, taking those steps as well. and then we would have documented it in their file.
Sure. Okay.
But if they had just sent it and not explained to us what the purpose of it was, then we probably would have marked it out of business.
Got it. Okay. Will, does that help a little bit?
Yeah, that definitely does.
Okay. And ideally hopefully that helps with a little bit of explanation for the permit holders as well. So I have a motion and a second for a civil penalty of $2,000 or a 14-day suspension and a 90-day probation. Any additional discussion? Hearing none, please signify when I call your name. Approval of the motion with a yay, opposed nay. Ms. Jarman.
Yay.
Mr. Conway.
Yay.
Mr. Perlin, are you back with us? Apparently not. Ms. Spalding.
Yay.
And Ms. Fox.
Yay.
4 yays, no nays. Anyone wishing to change a vote? Hearing none, motion passes. Mr. Matina, what the board just did, seeing that you still hold your permit, and you've probably listened carefully to the discussion we've had over the last few moments, the board issue a civil penalty in the amount of $2,000, or you have the option of serving a 14-day suspension along with a 90-day probation. We are not here to give advice, but you can choose to pay the $2,000, or you can choose to exercise your right to serve the suspension. Sounds like you, in practice, may have already been doing that.
Yeah, I'll just go another 4 months without selling beer. That's fine.
Well, in this case, the only thing, if you choose a suspension, which you can certainly choose to do, our requirement is only 14 days. So that's your decision, and you can discuss that with staff tomorrow and begin serving that. You have a week to decide whether you're paying it or serving a suspension. So that is completely up to you. And if you want to discuss that with staff in the coming days, that'll certainly be fine.
That'll be fine. I thank you guys for your time, and we're definitely going to move with the suspension. Just ask the staff when they call, if I don't answer, if they could leave me a voicemail, because sometimes in the morning I can't get to my phone immediately.
Very good. Thanks. Well, thank you, gentlemen, for
thank you, sir.
Thank you for this for being here this afternoon. Board.
Hey, you guys have a good evening, and good luck with the teleconference and making it through the COVID and all that good stuff. Hopefully you guys get back to your office soon. Have a good evening. We're going to get off. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
All right, bye-bye.
From a trial standpoint, that is all of that portion of the agenda. At this point, I'll turn it over to Benton on administrative matters.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Did everyone receive a copy of my report, just so you can read along with me?
Yes.
Okay, great. Just wanted to go over that briefly and just to basically show you all how. Okay, now my dog starts barking. Sorry about that. Okay, sorry about that. Okay, first of all, wanted to show you all how much revenue we were bringing in. February and March would have been the last time that we had significant revenue, or the same amount of revenue that we were bringing in throughout all of last year, 2019 to 2020, and starting in March. That's really about when COVID really started to take hold. But you'll see that we brought in $46,000 in February and $30,000 in March, and then there's a significant drop down to just under $9,000 in April, and $8,800 in May, and then $7,300 in June. But it does look like things are starting to slowly move in the right direction, where we have 13,000 in July, and then year to date, or month to date, I guess, yesterday, we had brought in about $12,300. And I know that we have some other civil penalties that are yet to be paid for this month that are due by the end of this week. So that should start to really I think, ramp up quite a bit. And then below that, I also included our underage beer enforcement for the month of August. We concluded our last operation this week, and you'll see there that we had 15 buys out of 96 attempts, and I believe that's right around 15%, 10 or 15% sale rate for that. So that typically that's we're hoping that that it's around 10% of a sale rate that we have every month, and then so we go out and we do rechecks pretty often as well, and so that's included in there in 1 week as well. So we did the June and July rechecks in August, so that's included on those total numbers as well. So our underage beer enforcement, I think we're starting to ramp that up again, and so I feel like things are slowly but surely getting back to normal. But I do expect that revenue will recover here pretty soon, and I think we're headed in the right direction. But I'm happy to answer any questions that you guys might have regarding that report.
Thank you, Ben. The floor is open to the board. If anyone has any questions of the director? All right, hearing none. Ben, does that conclude your comments for this afternoon's meeting? This evening anymore, so.
That does, and I just wanted to make everyone aware we did send the emails so that we remain in compliance with our previous action where we sent emails that were directed to the beer board. So I did provide those to the beer board members today for their review, and also wanted to note that I believe Justin Marsh has been reassigned to a new department, so he will be. I believe this is likely his last meeting, but just wanted to make you all aware, and told him the other day that I felt like it was getting pretty close because he had been here for about 2 years now, and right when when things are going really well, and that's when they change your attorney on you. So we're definitely gonna miss him, but wish him the best of luck in his new assignment.
Very good, Mr. Marsh. You will be missed. Your service has been greatly appreciated, been greatly needed at times, but it's been greatly appreciated all the time. Thank you, and we wish you the best wherever else you're going. Hopefully, you're staying in Metro. Metro needs great guys like you to continue on.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm moving over to the schools team, so should be able to help them out.
The cool team, is that what you said?
Schools, MNPS.
School team, got it.
School.
I was like, cool team. I don't really get that comment, but okay. Well, congratulations again. We wish you the best of luck.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
He's going to the A team.
So, Benton, thank you for those comments. Thank you for sending out the information that the board receives. It is always, I believe, in the best interest of the public as well as the board and staff that we communicate fully with everyone who wants to have a say regarding anything that we as a board here in Metro do. I've issued my public comments on the matter, I'm happy to open it up to the board if anyone else has any questions or any comments about that. But I believe it is the duty of the director and the staff to keep the board informed about any public concerns that there may be, or any communication that we may receive from the public regarding any matter that we discuss. So my request is that any matter that we do discuss in these board meetings, they stay in these meetings and nowhere else. I'm happy if anyone has any comments from the board at this time. Seeing none, hearing none. Everyone, thank you for your time this afternoon. I appreciate your patience. The fact that we have had our first trials for the first time in, obviously, as we discovered earlier in the meeting, for the first time in months. It was a little clunky. If we continue through, with this route, we'll hone the process and ideally, hopefully, make it a little sharper and more concise. But I do appreciate Shardae's help. Thanks, Susan, for being here. Thanks to the staff and to Director McDonough for getting us through this process. Mr. Marsh, as I've always done, as your last act and my last request of you as the Beer Board Legal Counsel, do you have any commentary as to how long we will continue these virtual meetings via WebEx?
My understanding is at this point, we've been continued through September, I believe. And we don't know past that.
Okay. Very well. Then we will see everyone back here at our next board meeting in a couple of weeks. Without objection to deferral, speak now. Hearing none. Beer Board meeting today is adjourned. Thanks, everyone. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.